Hello, and welcome to episode 162 of Dark and Stormy Book Club. In honor of Tartan Day, today we go to the Scottish Highlands, where every journey starts with a thought and ends with a memory.
And hopefully not of haggis. That's just my opinion.
It really wasn't that bad. I was surprised. I'm Ann Dark.
I'm Traci Stormy.
And I'm Kathy Knight.
And together we are
It Was a Dark and Stormy Book Club,
a podcast for mystery lovers.
Welcome.
If you enjoy our show, please consider contributing to the Dark and Stormy Patreon. By becoming a patron, you will help us create better and quality content. There are also benefits to becoming a patron, such as exclusive content and Dark and Stormy merchandise. Become a supporter at patreon.com/darkandstormybc. Check our website for the link. We appreciate any and all contributions. Thank you.
We have for you today 2 books and a series, all set in Scotland, and the authors all have roots in Scotland. We hope you enjoy our Scottish Roundup. The first book I have is Murder in a Scottishshire. It is number 1 in the Scottishshire mystery series. It's put out by Kensington Books, and it is by Traci Hall. Known as the Brighton of the North, Nairn is a charming Scottish town and a popular seaside resort. It radiates Scottish charm, but to Paislee Shaw, it's simply home. Unfortunately, it's also home to a murderer. It's an ancient fishing port and market town. It's about 17 miles above Inverness. For a 28-year-old single mother, Paislee has knit together a sensible life for herself and her 10-year-old son Brody, along with Wallace, their Scottish terrier. Having inherited a knack for knitting from her dearly departed grandmother, Paislee also owns a specialty sweater shop called the Cashmere Crush. It's devoted to local crafters who gather weekly for her knit and sip for refreshments and camaraderie. Lately, though, Paislee feels as if her life is unraveling. She's been served an eviction notice, and her estranged and homeless grandfather has just been brought to her door by a disconcertingly handsome police detective. As if all that wasn't enough, Paislee discovers a young woman she recently rehired to work for her in the shop, dead in her flat, possibly from an overdose of heart medication. But as the details of the death and the woman's life begin to raise suspicions for Detective Inspector Zeffer, it's Paislee who must untangle this murderous yarn. This is a very good mystery, and the characters are very well written. There's the obligatory policeman love interest.
Well, of course. I think it's a prerequisite.
Yes, it's in its early stages now, but it has a lot of room to grow. And the author does an excellent job of putting the reader into the town. I like this book. The protagonist is very well written. Paislee loves her yarn store, her town, her son, and her independence. It had quite a few suspects before the guilty party was announced, and their protagonist was a very believable character. Well done. Traci Hall writes mostly romances. She has a seaside romance series with 20 books in it, and she writes the mysteries with the Scottishshire. Under the name of Tracy Wilton, she writes the Salem B&B mystery series. So, as a hybrid author with over 50 published works, she has a favorite story for everyone. She also writes historical romance, seaside romance, western romance, teen paranormal, new adult paranormal, coming of age, and several nonfiction books. You can find Traci and her books at her website, Traci, Traci, Hall.com. She's also on Facebook at By the Sea Series and on Twitter at Traci Hall Author. Very good book. I enjoyed it a lot.
Well, she's a prolific author. It
Yes,
seems like she must not sleep.
Probably not. She probably writes in her sleep.
We are finding more and more cozies that are really surprising us.
Definitely.
When we decided to do Scottish authors, I had to go and do some searching because I did not have one on the top of my head. The first one to come up was Ian Rankin, and I was like, oh, well, I've definitely heard of him. I am surprised that I have never read an Ian Rankin book. I don't know, maybe I've been in a cave.
I've read a couple of his. They're pretty good.
Well, and boy, did I pick the time to start reading this series. I'm not sure if it's going to be coming to an end soon or not. The detective, John Revis, is retired because he has COPD, but it was still an excellent, excellent book. The name of the book is A Song for Dark Times. It's the Inspector Revis number 23 by Little Brown and Company, and it came out October 13th. When her daughter Samantha calls in the dead of night, John Revis knows it's no good news. Her husband has been missing for 2 days. Revis fears the worst and knows from his lifetime in the police that his daughter will be the prime suspect. He wasn't the best father. The job always came first. But now his daughter needs him more than ever. But is he going as a father or a detective? As he leaves at dawn to drive to the windswept coast and a small town with big secrets, he wonders whether this might be the first time in his life where the truth is the one thing he doesn't want to find. I've never read a John Revis book before, but I got the gist of these characters so well. Ian Rankin did such a good job of letting you know, even somebody who didn't know anything about John Revis, everything you needed to know about him. With his declining health, he ends up moving to a smaller apartment, which I thought was kind of funny. He's apparently lived in this one apartment forever. He's moving to a smaller one, but just right downstairs, so he doesn't have to climb the stairs anymore.
Oh, blame him.
But he's in the same building that he's always been. This mystery actually had 2 mysteries. It was the mystery of his daughter's husband missing, but then there was the mystery, apparently this is another character that's been with the series a long time. D.I. Siobhan Clark and D.I. Malcolm Fox are investigating the murder of Saudi Salman bin Mahmoud. He's a Saudi student whose parents are very wealthy, and his body is found in a car park. After John receives the call from his daughter Samantha has a daughter herself, so John is a grandfather. He wants to help as much as he can. Well, Samantha is not very close with her father, so there's a lot of tension between John and Samantha. But he still rushes in and does what he can. Her husband was obsessed with an old internment camp, so I don't want to give too much away, but Rankin did such a good job of these 2 cases really shouldn't have anything to do with each other, but he ends up connecting the 2 in such a clever way. I was hanging on every word in this book to find out what was going to happen, and I did not have it figured out. The 2 stories truly collided. I am now a fan of Ian Rankin. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go back and read all 20
of them.
All 22 of the other ones, now that I know that I could possibly read them almost as a standalone, that I could probably pick up anywhere, I was very surprised. I feel like I have read all the books because I don't feel like I missed anything. Born in Kingdom of Fife in 1960, Ian Rankin graduated from the University of Edinburgh in 1982 and then spent 3 years writing novels when he was supposed to be working towards his PhD in Scottish literature. His first Rebus novel was published in 1987. The Rebus books are now translated into 22 languages and bestsellers on several continents. Ian has been elected a Hawthorne Fellow. He is also a past winner of the Chandler Fulbright Award, and he received 2 Dagger Awards for the year's Best Short Story and the Gold Dagger for Fiction. Ian Rankin is also the recipient of honorary degree from the Universities of Alberta, St. Andrews, and Edinburgh. A contributor to BBC Two's Newsnight Review, he also presented his own TV series, Ian Rankin's Evil Thoughts, on Channel 4 in 2002. He recently received the OBE for services to literature and opted to receive the prize in his home city of Edinburgh, where he lives with his partner and 2 sons. And his website is ianrankin.com.
Very, very good. I have read Ian Rankin's books. It's just that we have so many books to read, you can't go back and read everything that you want to.
Well, what surprises me, as long as we've been reading mysteries, that you can still run across a very good author that, it's very well known.
Yeah.
And that's for both of us, that we've never read before.
Exactly.
And because there's only so many hours in the day. But I am really thrilled that we chose this topic because I am now a huge fan of Ian Rankin. I, for some reason, thought he was much older. He's only a couple years older than I am.
God, that's old. When we decided to do Scottish, the first name that came to my mind was Hamish Macbeth.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
When this series first started back in 1980-something, so it's been around for 40 years, there are certain books and certain authors, you see a new book come out, you've got to read it. Hamish Macbeth was that for me.
Oh, it's for me, too.
They're very short books. They're usually, 150 and less than 200 pages.
Oh, yeah, they're a day's read easy.
But they are so much fun.
And Hamish Macbeth truly is my book crush.
Oh, yes. That red hair. Hamish Macbeth is a fictional police officer who serves as his town's Bobby in a series of mystery novels created by M.C. Beaton, or Marion Chesney is her real name. The novels were set in the Scottish Highlands in the fictional town of Lochdu. Hamish Macbeth is the oldest of 7. He has 3 brothers and 3 sisters. His parents are crofters. Crofter is like a farmer, a sheep herder. And as the eldest son, Hamish is expected to contribute to his family. And he keeps some sheep and chickens and grows some vegetables. He's occasionally guilty of poaching a salmon from the local stream. Hamish has a reputation for being lazy. The town of Lochdu, which means Black Lake in Gaelic, and he is content and at peace with his life, and he lacks ambition. Of great concern to Hamish and his fellow villagers is the threat of possible closure of the police station. Chief Inspector Blair would love to see Hamish away. They want to promote him. He finds every excuse in the book not to be promoted so that he doesn't lose his little home. Early in the series, Hamish has an on-again, off-again romance with Priscilla Halberton Smythe. She's the daughter of the wealthy landowner. the romance goes up and down and up and down, and then it kind of ends in a broken engagement because of her sexual coldness. But Hamish falls in love at the drop of a hat. You send a pretty girl